Saturday is a must-win-ish game against Rutgers. Why are we feeling good about it? And then also, Will, why are we a little shaky on the +5.5 line as well? Also, who have been the best performers on offense and defense so far this year? We let Pro Football Focus decide that for us. Let's go.
You are Locked On Spartans, your daily podcast on the Michigan State Spartans, part of the Locked On Podcast Network, your team every day.
Every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business. That's why LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. Post your job for free at linkedin.com/locked on college terms and conditions. You got that right. They apply. Spartan friends, Spartan family, Locked On Spartans listeners, thank you so much for tuning in to Locked On Spartans to kick off your day here. That's right, it is your team in green and white 5 days a week here in the Locked On Podcast Network. And hey, if you ever want to reach out, lockedonspartans@gmail.com is the best place to get a hold of us. And if you want to make my day, go ahead, rate us 5 stars on any podcast platform you listen to. Go ahead, subscribe on any podcast platform or YouTube or, really just whatever makes you happy will make me happy as well. Let's get into the mix here because against all odds, it sounds weird to say this about a game that's on noon on Big Ten Network in Piscataway, but yeah, it's a big game for Michigan State here against Rutgers. It brings me no joy to say that, but that's just the fact of the matter. This is a big game against Rutgers. And look, I think run the table time starts right now. Michigan State, in my opinion, has to run the table in their coin toss games here if they want to make a bowl game, if they want to get to 6 wins. Because right now, I'm sorry to come off as a negative Nancy. Maybe you're a much better fan than I am. Maybe you do have some hope that they could beat Michigan, Ohio State, or Penn State, one of those 3 games to end the year. If you take those 3 games away, though, there's 4 coin flip games. It's this Rutgers game. It's the game on the road against Minnesota, the home game against Nebraska, and then another road game against Indiana. I know right now the spread is 5.5. Michigan State is underdogs in this game, but I consider this one of these coin toss games because you have to win those 4 to get to a bowl game. And no, is it detrimental to the program if you don't get to a bowl game this year? I think it's pretty clear that, the worst has kind of already happened or is happening with Mel Tucker's firing. There's the new regime change coming, whether that be with, Urban Meyer or a more realistic candidate like Mike Elko, for example. But still, we are hitting the reset button regardless. It's not the end of the world if they don't make a bowl game, but it would be really beneficial just to get off the schneid here. Not just for us fans that like watching Michigan State play more football games, but also for all those kids in the building. And it starts this Saturday at noon, Big Ten Network in Piscataway here. And also, if you do beat Rutgers, if you're one of those players in the locker room, you kind of get the sense that, if we could beat Rutgers on the road, we could beat Minnesota on the road because I think Rutgers is a much better team than Minnesota. If you can beat them, you probably have faith that you can beat Indiana as well. And then that 4th game, the home game, Nebraska at home. If you could beat Rutgers on the road, I think you beat Nebraska at home. Of the coin flip games, I think this is the hardest one left. This is not the old Chris Ash Rutgers teams of old where you could expect to win by 50 points. No, this is an improved Rutgers team. So this is the best one of the 4 coin toss games. Now, why do I expect Michigan State to win? What a sentence, all right? After what we've seen the last 3 games in their only Power 5 games so far this year where they've lost all 3 games, why am I coming on here and saying that? Yeah, I do have an expectation for Michigan State to win, even though they are nearly touchdown underdogs on the road. Well, this is going to be a weird game. It's going to be a sloppy game. We talked a lot about it with Greg Patuto yesterday. He does great work for On the Banks, and he's not feeling too hot about his Rutgers Scarlet Knights, kind of the same way that, we haven't been feeling all too jazzed about Michigan State lately, but it is going to be what the forecast is calling for, a soggy day over there in New Jersey. Now, the wind is going to be on the lower side, but still, I think running is going to be the way to go for both of these teams. Even on a clear day, that was already going to be the case, but yes, with the weather impacting the game here, I expect this one to be on the ground. And Kyle Monangai, the workhorse for Rutgers, and Nathan Carter, you guys already know who he is, our running back over here in East Lansing. both running the ball at 5.1 yards per carry. Both the defenses are very similar in the run game as well. 3.5 yards per carry for their opponents. I do like the way that Michigan State is trending, though, in the last game, the last 6 quarters. And that's something that we've been talking about a lot here. Just the last 6 quarters for Michigan State football defensively as well. And Harlan Barnett was preaching that after the Maryland game, trying to lift everyone's spirits, saying, yeah, that second half defense is the defense we've been looking for all year. And then he saw it again against Iowa. And I do understand that just because you did good on defense against Iowa doesn't mean anything special, but you see the bones of a run-stopping defense there for Michigan State. So if this game is on the ground, I'm going to pick Nathan Carter and Michigan State's offense over what Rutgers' offense can do against Michigan State's defense. Now, what also helps Michigan State in this game is that Rutgers, if it was up to them, all these games would be over in 1 hour and 15 minutes because they play slow on offense. They are top 5 in the country at playing at a sluggish pace. They did it excellently in week 1 against Northwestern. They only let Northwestern run, I think it was 3 or 4 plays in the first quarter there. Regardless, they dominated time of possession. And how do you do that? Well, you run the ball, you get chunk plays, you get first downs, and that's where Michigan State comes in. Michigan State, for everything that's been going bad this season, there is one thing that's been going really, really good, almost at an elite level. It's their third down defense. Second best third down defense in the country. I mean, so look, if you get Rutgers on a 3rd and 6, 3rd and 7, have them playing behind schedule. Well, you flip it over to Gavin Wimsatt, who isn't even throwing the ball at 52% completion so far this season. And then you add in all the rain I was talking about as well. I like Michigan State's defense matching up against Rutgers as well, just to get them off the field, to get them off of their game plan of, hey, let's just play the slowest game humanly possible. Now, it's going to be an interesting game here because we expect Katin Houser to become starter this week against Rutgers. Now, that's going to be a tough task because Rutgers' passing defense is amongst the best in the country. They've only given up 33 passing plays that have gone 10 or more yards. That is top 10 in the country. They limit the explosive plays in the passing game. They only give up 5.5 yards per attempt in the passing game. That's also top 10 in the country. So yes, it's going to be the first start for Katin Houser, presumably, but it should be a boring start. Hopefully they are drilling into Houser that, like, hey, we're going to take a lot of medicine today. We're going to be doing a lot of these slant routes, a lot of hook routes, a lot of short yardage routes, because that is all that Rutgers is going to give us here. Now, what helps Michigan State, what helps Katin Houser, is that they are expecting tight end Malik Carr to get back into the fold here. And just rewatch the first quarter against Iowa if you have any problem seeing how Malik Carr can work in the passing game. He had 6 catches just in that 1 quarter of work. And for a backup young quarterback, what better security blanket can you ask for than a 6'7" tight end who is a pass-catching threat? So I think him coming back is going to help the offense a lot as well. We might be able to see Tyrell Henry cook at a lot of these underneath routes just below the linebacker and safety levels and then just run free, which is something we haven't seen him do a lot this year. But I think with what the Rutgers defense is going to be giving Michigan State, I think it's going to be a great opportunity to see that from Henry or another speed demon like Alante Brown, who really hasn't gotten a lot of reps as well. And, hey, you know what I like to see last game as well? Ryan Eckley in the punting game. I understand he had that shank at the end of the game, but let's focus on the positives here. 4 punts of 50-plus yards at Iowa. This is a kid that has been growing fastly so far this season, and field position is going to be massive this game if you haven't figured it out by now. So yes, if you have Ryan Eckley just banging punts 50 yards down the field, we're going to be a little happy with that as well. Now, we're going to jump to a listener question here as we get into a quick betting segment right now. This one comes from Luke. Hey, Matt, you guided me earlier this year and told me to put the mortgage on MSU minus 14.5 against Central Michigan. Do we do it again with MSU plus 5.5 against Rutgers? It's Rutgers. We are not losing. Hashtag Katin Houser season. Did I say to bet the mortgage? That actually does sound like something I would say. I want you to responsibly bet the mortgage here, but I want you to do it on another bet in this game because with all that said, with everything that I just said about being positive about Michigan State in this game and why I think they should beat Rutgers, can they get out of their own way? Can they finally do the things that Harlan Barnett has been talking about at the end of every game, where they are just shooting themselves in the foot with false start penalties, roughing the passer penalties, drop balls, fumbles, bad person? Can they just get out of their own way this game? I want to see it before I actually put money on Michigan State. But let's get really quick into the 5 best bets here, because I missed this last week. I'm so sorry, guys. I completely let that slip my mind. For anyone that likes the 5 best bets segment, we're going to do it right now instead of at the end of the show. And the bet that I do like for this game is under 39.5. This has dropped 3 full points. Still not enough. We're going to go under 39.5. I also like Ohio State minus 19.5 against Purdue. I think they're hearing a lot of the whispers about Ohio State sleepwalking through games, and this is a gut check time for Ohio State to beat a bad Purdue team by 20-plus points. I like Washington minus 2.5 against Oregon. I also like Washington State minus 7.5 against Arizona, and then under 60.5 in LSU versus Auburn. So go ahead, hop on FanDuel for all those lines, and whether you tail or fade, let us know what you think of the 5 best bets for this week. We will be back in a hot second here with Hunter Stahl of Pro Football Focus to run us down the numbers and what he is seeing from both sides of the ball for Michigan State. But first, need to talk your ear off about LinkedIn jobs. Locked on jobs. Imagine that. No, LinkedIn jobs. These days, every new potential hire can feel like a high-stakes wager for your small business, and you want to be 100% certain that you have access to the best qualified candidates available. That's why you have to go check out LinkedIn Jobs. LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the right people for your team faster and for free. My favorite part. What you're going to do, just simply add your job to your profile. It's so easy, even a schmuck like me can do it. And then add the purple hashtag hiring frame to your LinkedIn profile to spread the word that you are hiring. It is truly that simple with LinkedIn Jobs. And it's why small businesses rate LinkedIn Jobs #1 in delivering quality hires versus leading competitors. So what are you waiting for out there? LinkedIn Jobs helps you find the qualified candidates you want to talk to faster and for free. So post your job for free at linkedin.com/lockedoncollege. Again, that is linkedin.com/lockedoncollege to post your job for free. Terms and conditions. You got that right, Buckaroo. They apply. Also, you want to continue to look your best this upcoming basketball season, or hey, just still in the football season as well. Homefieldapparel.com is the place to be. Go ahead. Hop on their website. Go enjoy some logos that you may never have seen before from your Spartans. Or let's say for some reason you're not a Michigan State fan and you're still watching the show. Well, I got good news for you. They most likely have the college that you root for on their website. I have a Hawaii hoodie that I beat the brakes off of every single winter because it just looks awesome and also feels great. As sweet as these vintage logos are, when you put on a t-shirt, long sleeve t-shirt, a hoodie, a sweatshirt, or hey, even a hat from Home Field Apparel, it feels like an angel is caressing your body. It is the most comfortable clothing you will have in your closet. So go to homefieldapparel.com, check out everything they have in store, and smash in promo code LOS23 for 15% off of your first order. Again, that's homefieldapparel.com, promo code LOS23 for 15% off of your first order at homefieldapparel.com. We are now joined by Hunter Stahl. He is back. This is not his first time on the show. We did a little bit of banter in the preseason, I believe, with him. But now we're going to do a nice little checkup here because before the season, I did top 5 offensive players, top 5 defensive players for Michigan State. And, well, Hunter's going to give me the report card here because he and the ball knowers at PFF do the hard work grading every single player. But before we get to that, Hunter, I guess I should be a good host here. How on earth are you doing, man? You doing okay?
Yeah, Matt, doing well. Thanks again for having me. Appreciate being on the show again, having the opportunity. Like you mentioned, though, things have sure changed a lot since our first talk. We talked about the best players and guys to look out for and guys that did well last year. And looking to now in the season, we have guys who are hurt and didn't produce and even some who are transferred. And yeah, our coach has gone to and we're 2-3. So things have changed pretty quickly since our last talk.
I think it was like a month and a half ago, and God, everything's happened the last month and a half. So for example, for the defensive top 5 players, I said number 1's Jacoby Windman. Well, Hunter, he doesn't play for Michigan State anymore. He is hurt. He is out for the season. But we're going to start with the offense here. So working from 5 down our way down to 1 for the highest PFF graders. We'll just go through that. And then after, you'll sprinkle in a few players that you think should be seeing the field a little more based on their grades as well. So do you want to walk us through who is starting at the 5th best player so far in the offense for MSU this year?
Yeah, you bet. So at number 5, to start off the order, we have Malik Carr, tight end, at a 72.2 grade overall for offense. And this is also for guys who have at least 50 snaps on offense as well. And so with Malik Carr, he currently has MSU's top receiving grade via PFF with a 77.7 grade overall in the pass game. Also along the lines of conference in comparison, he is the second highest receiving grade in the conference among all Big Ten tight ends.
Wow. Okay.
So, he is hurt right now, as we know, so hopefully he can come back pretty soon, but definitely been a pretty good showing so far for what we've seen.
That would be delightful, especially, if we're breaking in a new starting quarterback this weekend. I mean, I said this in the first segment, but hey, what better friend to have than a nice 6'7" pass catching tight end, but man, second best pass catching tight end in the conference. That's not too shabby. Take that over here.
Yeah, absolutely. And so going forward with the list now, we have actually 2 guys tied for third, and that is both Ethan Boyd and Nick Samak. So they are both tied with a 72.5 overall offensive grade. So starting first with Ethan Boyd, amongst all Big Ten tackles with at least 50 snaps, Boyd has the 6th highest overall offensive grade in the conference. Broken down, he currently has a 67.7 run block grade and a 75.5 pass block grade. His pass block numbers, though, do stand out when you look more into it. He has only allowed 1 pressure this year so far on a total of 55 pass block snaps. So definitely some good progress there and good performance in the pass game. Compared to Nick Samak, once again, same exact grade so far this season, he has, in comparison, excelled more in the run game. So Samak has a 75.0 overall run grade with a 62.1 pass block grade.
Gotcha.
In comparison to the conference, he's currently posting the 2nd best run block grade in the Big Ten amongst all centers with at least 50 run block snaps.
That's not too shabby. We'll take that. Okay, wow, this is optimistic. I got to say, for a 2-3 season where things aren't really going MSU's way, Hunter, I'm loving this conversation so far. This is great. You're welcome anytime in this show. This is fantastic.
Yeah, absolutely. I think this goes to show that things aren't as bad as they may seem. And, individually, at least some guys are right up there with the best performers in the conference when it comes to certain metrics of the game. So moving forward then on the list, in the number 2 spot, we actually have Christian Fitzpatrick, the wide receiver, with a 73 overall grade.
Okay.
Now, with that grade, he is the 11th overall in the conference amongst wide receivers with at least 10 targets. What really helps, though, his grade is his deep threat ability. And so he averages 21.1 yards per reception, which is the 2nd highest in the Big Ten. He hasn't had many catches or many passes thrown his way this year, but when he has made those big plays, it's definitely been very effective and got the ball on the field when he has had those chances to do so.
That's wow. I mean, I figured a receiver would have to be on this top 5 list somewhere. I did not think it'd be Fitzpatrick, though, especially that high up in the top 5. But yeah, I mean, just like you said, 21 yards per reception. That plays. He's a big game player. So, man, I like it. A little surprise here.
Yep, definitely. And then at the number 1 spot, shouldn't be a surprise, is Nate Carter, running back.
Oh, wow. Oh,
with
my goodness.
73.9 overall grade.
Wow. Okay.
And so with that, he currently has the 7th best run grade amongst Big Ten running backs with at least 50 rush attempts this year. He's third best in the conference with the most runs of 10 plus yards with 12 total so far in the season. What I found interesting, though, about Nate Carter when doing this research was that Carter's numbers and his productive ability is much better on the left side of the line, so running to the left side, than it is up the middle or to the right.
Okay.
So more in detail here, when running to the left B gap, so that's between the left guard and left tackle, he has 7.8 yards per attempt. Left C gap, which is between left tackle and tight end, he has 6.8 yards per attempt. And around the left end, he has then 7.2 yards per attempt. So when you compare that, though, to the right side of the line, in the right B gap, he averages 4.1 yards, right C gap, 3.3, and the right edge, 4.0. So I found it interesting there. Not sure why exactly, but he's much more successful and much more effective running on the left-hand side. So, I mean, maybe if Jay Johnson listens to that and listens to the podcast, I'm sure he does.
Oh, big listener.
more
Yeah.
thrown to the left.
Huge fan. Yeah. Right. Oh, Jay Johnson never misses an episode. Yeah. But wow, that is fascinating. And boy, would it be great if on 4th and 1 they would actually just go to the left side just once. That'd be great. But I digress. So you said 7th highest rated running back in the conference. Is that right? 7th overall?
That's correct. So for overall run grade, he is 7th best in the conference with running backs with a minimum of 50 attempts on the year.
That's competitive, man, because I think we had this conversation. I forgot if I was just talking to myself or we had a guest on, but you're saying, I don't know if Nathan Carter is going to be at a, like first team, second team, third team, all Big Ten, but he will be a plus running back, but just because how competitive the space is in the Big Ten. And God, that backs it up big time because he's been awesome here and 7th best. It's a running back conference. Jeez. Tough break.
Definitely.
Man. So who should see the field more? Let's take D'Antonio out. All right. He decides he wants to go back to Florida, enjoy retirement. You are now the 10th on field coach, Hunter. Alan Haller just called me actually and wanted me to invite you to this. Who are you throwing out there on the field more on offense as far as the grades go here?
Yeah, so one player that I want to see get more involved is, once again, Christian Fitzpatrick, the wide receiver.
Yeah, right.
So looking at total snap counts, he's played 114 out of 354 total offensive snap counts this year. So about a third, roughly, of snap counts. That also includes garbage time against Richmond and so forth. So with that, he's not playing all the time. But the thing is, though, he only has a season high of 4 targets in that Richmond game. And same game, too, he only had a season high of 3 receptions. So I think he's shown once again that he can be a deep vertical threat when utilized properly. And so really here, I would like to see him be more involved in the pass game and, have more targets, especially downfield where he's shown to be most effective so far.
Yeah. God, this is blowing my mind right now. I mean, who knew that Christian Fitzpatrick just was a sleeping giant on this offense? This is awesome. Again, hopefully Jay Johnson can listen here. Hopefully, him and Caden Hauser have gone out to lunch a few times this week. We'll see, I guess, this Saturday on a nice rainy day in Piscataway. But yeah, there we go. That's what I'm talking about, man. There we go. So does that wrap it up for the offense, or are we leaving any notes on the floor now?
Yeah, so I got one more guy, and that's actually Dallas Fincher, the center.
Okay.
And so, as most people probably have known by now, Fincher played quite a bit this season when Nick Samac was hurt and not quite 100% in the first few games of the season. So in those 3 games, he played just a total of 67 total snaps on offense. And in 25 pass rush attempts, though, he did not allow a single pressure. And currently, he has the highest pass block grade on the team with an 84.2 grade.
Jesus. Wow.
Yep.
Okay. That's up there.
Yeah, definitely. And so my point here isn't to say that he should be starting over Samac per se, because Samac does have a better run grade than Dallas Fincher does. But the thing is, though, that if anything, I mean, you just have a solid backup in the role, maybe get some spot minutes here and there. Or if not, just a solid guy going in next year who's going to be the probable starter at center in that spot.
There we go. Just a bright future ahead. Better days ahead. I've been trying to preach that a lot on this podcast because obviously as a State fan, it's not always fun here, but better days are ahead. And hey, that could start the offensive line for sure. That's what I'm talking about. Now, we, of course, have to switch it to the other side of the field here. But Hunter, I hate to do this to you. I got to send you to the bench right now because I need to talk to people's ears off about FanDuel Sportsbook, America's #1 sportsbook. And gang, if you haven't seen it, the line is now at 5. Michigan State 5-point underdogs at FanDuel. If you're feeling spicy about our Spartans, go ahead and fancy yourself a wager over at FanDuel, America's #1 sportsbook. And also, hey, just like the first segment, 5 best bets. This is my first best bet. Under 39.5. If you want to tail me, go ahead and smash that over and do it at FanDuel. And do it right now, because right now, new customers get $200 in bonus bets guaranteed when you place a $5 bet. That's right. That is $200 in bonus bets, win or lose with just a $5 bet at FanDuel. If you've been thinking about joining FanDuel, there is no better time to get in on the action. The app is super easy to use. And of course, there is a wide range of betting options, including spreads, player props, over-unders, first touchdown score. Hey, if you really want to shoot for the moon with these odds during NFL Sundays, just guess the correct score. I mean, those are I do like wagering those. Now visit FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. Again, FanDuel.com/lockedon and kick off the NFL season. It is with FanDuel, official partner of the NFL. And folks, we are welcoming back Hunter Stahl back to the stage here because we got to talk about this defense, which has had some good incremental progress here in the last few games-ish, if you take away that first quarter against Maryland, but we just won't act like that ever happened here for the segment. We'll do the same thing here. I mean, pretty simple format, starting at 5, working our way down to 1. I can't imagine Jacoby Windman's part of this group, but I'm fascinated to see how close we were from our preseason guesses here. So who do you got at 5, Hunter?
Yeah, definitely. So starting off number 5 on the defensive list of MSU players with at least 40 snaps on defense, we actually have Darius Snow with a 71.9 overall grade.
Wow. Okay.
Now, Snow has only played 43 snaps so far this year in 3 games this season after coming off the injury from last year. So he may not be 100% just yet, but when he has played, though, he has been effective, and he's posted an overall 80.4 tackling rate on defense, which is 3rd overall on the team. So even though he's played limited minutes, he has shown here his effectiveness, and hopefully as he gets more healthy through the year, he'll continue to grow and increase that number.
Yeah, and that was a massive storyline coming in because obviously he had the injury. You never know when he's going to come back, but what form of himself would he come back as? And this is something that we said up and down throughout the year, well, going into last year, that he's the best tackler on the team. And right now, even though he may be only 80%, let's call it 90%, 3rd best tackler on the team. I got to say, I did not expect to hear Darius Snow's name. He has been solid, obviously, in his time back, but wow, I didn't know that much production in such a short amount of time. Love it. Look at you, Darius Snow. Look at you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yep. And so moving forward then on the list, number 4, we have Derrick Harmon, the D tackle, with a 76.0 overall grade. Now, Harmon has the 8th highest pass rush grade in the conference among D tackles with 11 total QB pressures. His best game of the season was actually the Iowa game, where he posted an 80.9 overall grade, which was the 2nd highest on the defense in that game, behind only Angelo Gross. So,
gotcha.
So far for Harmon, show a lot of progress, especially in the pass rush game, as far as that goes, when it comes to that metric, I guess you could say.
Yeah. I think that's where we had Derrick Harmon before the season, at number 4 on this defense. So look at me just finally getting a nut over here, this blind squirrel over here. So, all right, there we go. That's what I'm talking about. Who we got at 3 then?
Yeah, so 3 shouldn't be a big surprise for anyone, is Jordan Hall, the freshman linebacker, with a 77.0 overall defensive grade. Now, Hall has been everything as advertised as a 4-star, top 200 kid coming in, and even above and beyond that.
Yeah.
So currently, he's the highest graded freshman linebacker in the country with a minimum of 100 snaps on defense. That's for true freshman linebackers.
Sensational. Because before the season, we're hearing all these, rumors out of the building, like, hey, Jordan Hall, he actually could play this year. And you're sitting there wondering, like, yeah, that great, awesome, from IMG, 4-star kid, top 200, like that's cool. But is he going to play because, like, we just need a body out there? Or, like, is this a legitimate thing? Like, he could actually play Big Ten football? And thank God it's actually that option. It's that he can actually play Big Ten football. This is thrilling to have him on campus here. God.
Yeah, definitely. I mean, I think, if there's any silver lining, if you will, for Windman's injury, I mean, it's been an opportunity for Hall to get all these snaps on defense, where otherwise he may have been more kind of a spot guy, kind of second string guy coming in. But so when you look at his grades more in detail as well, if you look at all freshman defenders, he is the 10th highest overall in the country. So that's D-line, that's the linebacker, DBs.
Okay.
So doing really well there. Through the first 4 games of the season, he was actually PFF's top-rated linebacker in the entire Big Ten with a minimum of 25 snaps on defense. He also has the highest grade for MSU when it comes to coverage grade as well on the team, and he allows just 4.6 yards per reception when the player he's covering is targeted. So not only has he been effective in this run defense as well, but also in the coverage games. Whenever his guy is targeted, he's making those stops right away. If not, making the pass break up or defending it completely up until that point. So overall, Hall's been, once again, everything that we thought he could be, and really has potential to be, the next great MSU linebacker.
And that's something we've been yearning for here in East Lansing for the last few years, is like a linebacker that can cover the pass a little bit. Easier said than done. I'm not saying these guys have an easy job, but like, wow, it's nice to see that finally with Mr. Hall over here in East Lansing. There we go. Love it.
Yep, definitely. And so moving forward on the list, number 2, we have Dre Butler, the D tackle, with a 77.4 overall grade on defense.
Okay, sure. Why not? Did not expect to hear that name. I'm going to be honest with you. Wow. Okay.
Yeah, definitely. So Butler had pretty good games, and he played in the first 3 games of the season. He was out with an injury from the Maryland and Iowa games this year. Mm-hmm. But even though he only played in 3 games, he still did enough to be the number 11 in best overall defensive grade amongst the Big Ten D tackles with a minimum of 50 snaps. So even though he's been hurt, hasn't played in all games this season, he's still been very productive in those first 3 games, one of which was obviously against Washington and wasn't just a cupcake game against MAC or FCS teams.
Sure. So is number 1 going to be a surprise like number 2, or is this going to be a name where like we're all going to say, oh, well, of course they're number 1? I'm excited to hear this one.
Yeah, so it might be a surprise to some people. So number 1, we actually have Chris Bogle, the edge rusher.
Wow, okay.
Yeah, and he posted an 81.1 overall grade so far this year. And so he currently leads the team, obviously the highest overall defensive grade, but has played in just 54 snaps through 4 games.
Yeah.
So he had his best 2 games against CMU and Richmond. In those games, he had about an 80 overall defensive grade, but then against Washington and Iowa, he had about a 60 and 63 grade overall. So a little dip there. Yeah. And he was also out versus Maryland as well. So with that being said, even though he has been limited this year, hasn't played in a whole lot of snaps, he still posted and ranked as the 5th best edge rusher overall in the conference with a minimum of 50 snaps in that category.
Wow. Yeah, no, you got me. I did not expect to see Bogle up there. I was thinking maybe Barrow, maybe Angelo Gross, who I know has had a strong bounce back year off of last year. But yeah, Bogle, rise up. Let's go. Former Florida Gator over here. So, wow. So again, you're in charge of the defensive substitutions as well, Hunter. D'Antonio had a lot of responsibility on his plate, but now it's yours since he's left. Who's getting some more field this Saturday in Piscataway if it was up to you?
Yeah, so on that same note, I would once again say Chris Bogle. I mean, I'm not sure if he's quite healthy yet. He didn't appear on the Iowa game injury report, so his status is uncertain at this time. Yeah. But he does, once again, lead the team in overall defensive grade and has played about 54 snaps out of a total team number of 327. So once again, I'd like to see him get more production, more opportunity. In the Iowa game, he played just 15 of 60 snaps on defense total. So once again here, it's just guys have good numbers. They've shown what they can do. And with that, though, they have low snap counts. So my thinking is simply, let's just see what they can do. Give them more opportunity, have them be more productive, and hopefully that'll help the defense.
Man. So anyone else that is kind of creeping up in that top 5 that you don't think is getting enough run so far?
Yeah, so I have one guy, and not really defense, but special teams rather.
Okay.
And that's no other than Jonathan Kim, our kicker. And so obviously he's a starter. He plays a lot. But my point here is that I think he's being underutilized because for the first time in a while, we have a solid and reliable kicker, not only in a field goal game, but also in a kickoff game too. Mm-hmm. And so with field goals, Kim has an 86.1 field goal grade, which is currently the 2nd highest in the Big Ten and tied for 8th best overall in the country.
Wow.
So far in the year, he's 6 for 8 on field goals and 2 for 3 from 50 yards. We all remember his 58-yarder against Iowa, which was the 4th longest in MSU history.
Yeah.
But it's not just field goals, though. It's also the kick game as well. So in the kicking game, for comparison to last season, Jack Stone was our kickoff specialist, and he had just 13 touchbacks on the year, which resulted in about a 59% rate of kickoffs being returned by the other team.
Okay.
This year, Kim already has 12 touchbacks and a return percentage of just 24%. So not only has he been nailing field goals and being very reliable on the kicking front, he's also been great on kickoffs too when it comes to field position, and it's not giving their team the opportunity to make returns and have big returns against us, like last year in the Indiana game, if you want to mention that bad time of the life.
No, thanks for bringing that up. But no, I'm going to keep this positive. I'm taking a victory lap here because this is how nerdy we got in the preseason. Is we did talk probably way more than we should have about Jonathan Kim, not just the field goals, but the kickoffs as well, and how important that's going to be for Michigan State this season, and just, how well he was at North Carolina. And it's going to change some things up here at MSU. So, look, we don't get everything right in this podcast. Everyone knows that, but hey, at least we got the kickoff thing right. So look at us thrive over here at Locked On Spartans. Woo!
Yeah, definitely. So my point there, is just I kind of don't want to see us waste his potential, for as long as we have him. I mean, we have a kicker that as long as we can get across the opponent's 40-yard line, I mean, he can hit from that range. So,
yeah.
As long as we have a competent offense that can at least get us into the opponent's territory, I mean, we should be putting up a lot more points than we do via Jonathan Kim. So that's my point there. Just I like to see him be more utilized and, not waste his potential for having a solid kicker, top 10 in the nation.
And even his misses look good, like they're end over end. They're not knuckling through the air. They don't look like a wounded goose just trying to fly south. It looks like a legitimate kicker, which is just a beautiful sight for all of our Spartan fans' eyes over here. Hunter, this was awesome. I mean, people absolutely loved the first time you were on here. They're going to absolutely love this time. I absolutely know it. But anything else that you want to plug here? Anything you want to throw out before we let you go and enjoy the rest of your weekend before Rutgers versus Michigan State kickoff noon Saturday?
Sure, yeah. So one also fun fact that I found here, and kind of on topic with the whole quarterback controversy, people are excited to see hopefully Hauser going to start this weekend.
Yep.
Everything that we've seen so far points to that, even though it's not official quite yet. But the thing here is that what I found is out of all the Big Ten quarterbacks this year with at least 100 dropbacks, Noah Kim has had the lowest average time to throw at 2.7 seconds.
Wow, okay.
And that doesn't mean necessarily that he's getting sacked or pressured exactly at that time, but it means that he's either throwing to his first read really quick, or he is actually getting pressured and sacked and has the least time to throw when it comes to those plays broken down.
Gotcha.
So maybe with Hauser that'll change. Maybe we see him go through the progressions more, and maybe our old line can give us more time, hopefully, to throw. But that was kind of one fun fact that I found. If we compare quarterback grades so far this year, Kim has a 56.7, which is number 11 in the conference among Big Ten QBs. And Hauser has just a 28.4 so far, which is not great, but he's only had 16 attempts this year so far. So on that note, I just wanted to throw that in there too. And, I think that will increase with more attempts, more opportunities. And so I'm excited to see what Hauser can do this weekend coming up against Rutgers.
Room for improvement. That's all. You got to leave yourself a lot of ceiling. That's probably what his plan was the entire time. That's what I'll tell myself, at least. Hunter, this was awesome, man. Again, PFF.com. If you know football, you guys already know PFF. We don't have to go overboard plugging that. They do fantastic work, not just with college, but of course, NFL. It does stand for Pro Football Focus, for crying out loud. But Hunter, really do appreciate you, man. We'll probably check in with you again this season. I'll drag you back on. So if you're okay with that, that is. We do like the guests to agree to this normally. But hey, gang, until next time, we are going to be back on Saturday after the game, no matter what happens. But until then, enjoy your weekend. Let's get a good road tailgate in. Love you all. Go Green.